On today's episode of Finding My Roots, we'll be taking a look at the family history of Jonathan Bierbauer. John was born on March 21st, 2002 in Port Huron, Michigan. Today, John is a student at Alma College in Alma, Michigan. He's a swimmer on the swim team at Alma and enjoys playing and watching sports in his free time. John grew up taking trips to Philadelphia with his family to visit his grandparents, but he never knew the story of his great-great-grandfather until today. To start, let's take a look at the maternal family tree. At the top of the tree, you can see there's John. His parents are Scott Bierbauer and Cynthia Van Camp Bierbauer. Scott grew up in Port Huron, Michigan, and Cynthia grew up in Runnymede, New Jersey, which is just over the bridge from Philadelphia. Next, there's Cynthia's parents, who are Charles Van Camp and Arlene Van Camp Lanigan. Charles grew up in Yale, Michigan, which is about 10 miles away from Port Huron, Michigan, and Arlene grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. From here on, the next two generations grew up and lived in Philadelphia. Arlene's parents were, first, Frances Lanigan, and second, Catherine Lanigan Fitzsimmons. Catherine's parents were Margaret Bohannon, and then finally James Fitzsimmons, who is going to be the main focus of today's story. We had our top genealogical experts sit down with John and tell the tragic story of James Fitzsimmons, which we'll be showing right after this on Finding My Roots. Welcome back to Finding My Roots. Today, we look into the story of John's great-great-grandfather and the tragedy that happened on New Year's Eve, 1914.
This is the story of your great-great-grandpa. So it would be...
Your great-grandpa.
My...
And Nana's grandpa.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the story of him. His name was James Fitzsimmons, and they called him Big-Hearted Jim.
Big-Hearted Jim.
Yep.
Okay.
Read the headline.
Police boat pilot draws gun and kills saloon employee. Detectives believe Slayer was ejected from bar and fight followed.
This is the story of he was killed on New Year's Eve, 1914. He was working to become a bartender at a saloon, and he got shot by this man. His name was Granville Jefferson.
Yep, Granville Jefferson, 33 years old.
And Granville Jefferson was harassing an Italian boy who was a boot black. Do you know what a boot black is?
Yeah, shining the shoes.
Yep, outside of the saloon. And he was harassing him, so your James Fitzsimmons was protecting the boy like he was kind of like a bouncer. So he's kind of like a bouncer. And he went out and the guy shot him.
It says 5 bullets,
yep.
Killing him instantly.
Yep. And at the time he only made $12 a week doing this. And he had 4 kids under 10 when that happened.
Which would be your grandma.
And my grandma was 6 when this happened.
She was 6.
So this is a big news in Philly. It was in the paper for almost a year.
Yeah.
So read the headlines.
Porter defends Emanuel, does not believe detective was lax in investigating Jefferson case. So that would be that one again. Sounding regarding murder, talesman to explain to judge. Charges startle court, 6 accepted for jury to try Granville Jefferson. Wife of pilot who killed man collapses at news.
They let him go. He was let off because they found out that they were paying the jury.
It's
And
corrupt.
it was corrupted. But Granville Jefferson was a police boat captain.
So the police.
So
It was a conspiracy.
and it was a conspiracy because his uncle was way up in the police department too. So your great grandma Margaret sued the city for $20,000. That's a lot of money back then, but she didn't get it
She didn't get the
because it was a very corrupt society back then.
money. Yeah, nice.
Did you ever think you'd have a story like that in your family?
No, not at all. Just thought it was a plain old family. Never really wonder where they came from. And it's cool to know that there's a history behind
And that's just my side of it.
Yeah, that's only half of it.
I didn't tell you about, there's a lot of Germans in my side of the family. We didn't talk about that.
There's a lot more stuff to find, and maybe it's just
And
the
you have your
path to
whole
go down.
father's side
Yeah,
of the family.
path to go down in the future. Thank you so much for this. It was information that I never knew about before, and I appreciate you helping me out with this, and maybe it'll something that we'll revisit down in the road in the future.